Welcome back. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
You're
How are
doing
you?
Great. Welcome back to Behind the Pixel. My name is Will.
And my name is Kathryn.
And we are the co-founders of Open Pixel Studios. We're an animation studio out in Western Massachusetts.
Mass. No one says that. There was a whole marketing campaign.
That's
we'll
true,
talk about that
the
at
West
some point.
Mass campaign.
Yeah. This is Behind the Pixel, an Open Pixel podcast where we try to bridge the knowledge gap between those who buy creative content and those who make it.
So this podcast, we created this podcast because we wanted to teach people how to talk to and understand a little bit of the workflow, the pipeline, the behind the scenes of how things are made in the creative industry, in the creative economy. So mainly focused on animation, but today we're talking to someone from the live action world yet again. I'm super excited for today's guest. Do you know who it is?
Are you trying to pull a smart list right now? Or we don't know that today's guest, even though it's been booked for a couple weeks?
Yeah, it has been. Alex Terrill has been writing, directing, producing. He is the owner of Terrill Productions out in Western Mass. He's done a lot of work for a lot of different kinds of clients. So I'm just going to name a few of them here to name drop on his behalf. 21st Century Fox, Paramount Pictures, ESPN, Reebok, UMass. He's done Shark Week, which
awesome.
we will learn a little bit about. LL Bean, one of my favorite beans. I don't know if do you like how many beans do you like? Do you
kidney beans,
pinto? Do you like the pintos?
pinto beans.
Those are good. Those pintos.
I was gonna say chick beans, and then I realized it was
chick
chickpeas.
Chick beans? I don't think those are a thing. Refried though.
Refried, yes.
Anyway, his talent and reliability has gained him lots of respect and from us and also people in the area and in greater Boston.
Yeah, he's just been an awesome person to collaborate with. And I think we really got the sense even during our conversation with him about just how much he cares about the projects that he works on, but also the people behind the project. It's always a team effort.
We've been I feel like that's a trend in the people who we work with, people who understand production, people who understand the pipeline and the workflow, people who have been in those shoes before and can attest to providing the right atmosphere for those people to thrive in.
So we're going to learn a lot with him together.
Yeah.
It was really, really awesome to talk to him. And why don't we jump in?
Let's do it. Welcome back, and thank you, Alex, for being here. I'm very excited to have you on.
We are very excited to have you on.
Yeah, but I'm more excited. I think I want to make sure
this is a competition
that
now.
put that out there.
Guys, I'm really excited that you're doing this, and competition is good and healthy. So
it is. It never hurts except when you go a little too far.
Yeah.
It's a friendly
true.
competition
That's
for
true.
sure.
So a lot of our audience may not know who you are. So let's just start with tell us a little bit about Terrill Productions. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes.
Terrill?
Yes.
Terrill Productions. How long have you been at it? Because you've been at it for a while. And what kind of work do you mainly do?
Yeah, so I started literally while I was still in college, renting my college cameras and making a profit. And that's the way to do it, kids. So I've been doing this for 10 years. I'm a director of photography and executive producer at Terrill Productions. It's really just me, and I hire out contractors to work with me and crews and awesome people like Open Pixel to help me animate stuff. But it's a lot of shooting, a lot of editing, a lot of drone work, and I run the full gamut. There are some things that I try to avoid when it comes to video, but for the most part, I will humor you and listen to what your project is, and I would be happy to give you a quote and figure out how we can solve your problems.
Nice.
Now
That's
with the drones, that's interesting. I didn't realize you did drone work. What is that like? I'm just a little curious about that.
Oh, it's awesome. Have you ever driven a remote control car?
Yeah, when I was 5.
That was the reason why I started.
A long time.
And
awesome.
it's very much like driving a little RC car, but it's just flying around in the air, and sky's the limit. See how I did that?
Literally.
Nice.
So the reason we put together this podcast in general is because we want to inform people who buy creative content, buy live action production or animation or anything really, to get a sense of what it's like behind the scenes, right? Like what is it that makes our lives maybe more difficult, and like, you know, be aware of that, maybe makes our lives easier, and be aware of that, and just like expand the knowledge gap there a little bit. Because we started doing this, you know, a long time ago, and being able to just produce something because we know how it works comes naturally to us. But people who are trying to hire us have no idea usually. And so when they get to us, they feel like, oh, there might be like a hesitation there. Can I do this? Can I not do this? That kind of thing.
There's a lot of questions to answer.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. So
Yeah,
what are some of the most common challenges, do you think, that you face that are solved through video in the live action sense? Like, why are people using video?
So it's kind of like a 50-50 split, I want to say, where some people they know exactly what they want, and they know exactly how they're going to do it, and they know that I have the capabilities of doing it. And so they come to me, and I give them a quote, and we sit down and we talk about the stuff, and we have like a couple meetings beforehand for pre-production to just like work things out. And then there's like the other side of the gamut where I have people come to me and say, hey, we need video. And I'm like, cool, what's your name? What's your product? what do you mean?
Yes.
And as creatives, I mean, you guys know it's probably similar for you too. But yeah, I have some people just say we need to integrate video content into our lifestyle and our business and our company. And that's internal videos, that's web videos, that's promotions, that's like social media. It's like all sorts of that run the gamut. So when people approach me and they don't know exactly what they want a quote like right away. And it's kind of hard to get an idea of exactly what they want and then quote them for it. I feel like I'm pretty good at it, but I have to like really have a sit down conversation with them and ask them a whole slew of questions that I have pre-programmed in my brain at this point, and can say like, okay, this is what you need for equipment, for crew, for pre-production, for production and post-production. This is how long it's going to take. And this is what the final video is going to be. And this is why you need it. And it's going to solve this problem that you have. And so everybody's got a problem, right? And they need it solved through video when they come to me. It's just establishing what that problem is and how we're going to solve it. And that's really why people come to me. I can use an example of this company, QML. I shot videos for them. They're a precious metals refining facility. And nobody really knows what goes on in those places and how much money is really going through.
I don't know. Yeah.
And so they wanted to communicate what the process is and why their facility is better than other precious metals refining facilities. And so I made a series of 6 videos for them about each step of the process. And that was super fun because it's like a day in the life. You like go in there and shoot it and get to really be in their world. But that's one problem that people have, is how do we communicate like what we do to people who don't normally do the things that we do in a way that's clear, cohesive, and like quick. Because of people's attention span is like nothing.
Yeah. It sounds like you're a much better version of what is it, that show Undercover Boss, right? Where you kind of go into the life of their experience, and nobody knows what, who the boss is and stuff, but you're really doing a lot of important work because you get to shed light on something that otherwise wouldn't have been known. So that's actually really cool. I have a kind of quick side question that to kind of throw you a little bit of a curveball, but you mentioned that a lot of the time you're doing, you're running the business on your own, and I want to know a little bit about what that's like being a solopreneur, so to speak, and how you sort of coordinate working with lots of different either vendors or other people being on your own. How do you build those relationships? How do you do it?
Yeah, good question. It's funny you mentioned that, because the past like 2 years or so, I've been really debating like, how do I expand further from here? Like up until about 2 years ago, I'm like, all right, this is where I want to get to. This is what would make me happy. This is like making X amount. of income and having this kind of equipment and setup. And so I feel like I've gotten there, and now I'm like, okay, do I hire people full time or part time, and how do you expand and incorporate and all that jazz? So I've remained sole proprietor, doing business as Terrill Productions right now, and managing contractors who I work with on a regular basis. And that's what's really hard about this, is that I love the people that I work with, and it's pretty regular, and it's on a per job basis. And so that's my biggest concern, is hiring somebody and then not having the work. That's everybody's concern. So every time I have a gig, I can say, hey, I need this camera guy, I need a makeup artist, I need a drone operator, I need a producer to help me organize and manage them and create schedules and contact clients and people that we're shooting and locations. And there's just a lot of stuff that goes into it. I like doing a lot of that, but my favorite part is shooting it myself. So I like to just be part of the creative process in the beginning, have somebody kind of facilitate it a bit more, communicate with all the assets that we need to bring together. And then I'll show up on set knowing everybody, having been part of these conversations, and I'll shoot it and it'll make it look beautiful. And then I can pass it to an editor. And then describe what it is I had in mind for all the shots that I was doing. So but that being said, that's in an ideal world. Sometimes I do all of it.
Right.
Yes, that is very dependent on the nature of the situation, the speed of the project. We're totally with you there. I mean, because we're also, we're as they say, a micro business, being 2 or less people.
Well, it's trendy.
It was so trendy. It's hot right now. Yeah. So we've had, similar conversations, just saying even when we bring on interns, even for the summer, we have now, we raise that question all the time, being okay, if we have projects that aren't related to their skill set, how do we make sure that we're still giving them a challenge, or being able to still work on projects throughout the time together? And how do you navigate making sure you can also play to people's strengths, even if there's maybe a lack of work or there's just a different type of work that's happening? So it's a constant question, I think, no matter, and I think the question stays the same, but just at scale. The bigger you grow, you're still dealing with capacity challenges. You're still dealing with how do we, do we go full time? Do we not? It's always there. So I feel like we're just in it for the ride, so to speak.
Yeah, I think someone, I don't know where I heard this, but they were describing anxiety of it's constantly being in the present and not knowing what's coming ahead, because you can never know. Mm-hmm. And I kind of relate that to owning a business in a lot of ways. It's you just never really know, because you're in the here and now. Mm-hmm. But the way I think about it is how much time do we have in dollars to be able to plan to get new work?
Right.
So if I've bought out, if I've bought out with the amount of money that I have 6 months in advance, then I have 6 months to go figure out what my next gig's going to be, and I don't really have to worry about it until then. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's how I've been thinking about it. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
That's a good way of thinking of it. I need a new video camera, and it's $10,000 to buy a new video camera, and it's stressing me out right now, because time is money, like you said, and I'm for $10,000, I could wait this out for 3 months and feel pretty good, if I didn't get any work. And now it's or do I drop this and then go back to stressing out and having anxiety?
Is there any way to bring that cost down? Can you trade in your old cameras for new cameras?
There is, but what you get for it really just doesn't equate.
It's like an old car, Everyone's gonna be I'll give you $500.
Exactly.
It's what? This is a $5,000.
My car that I've had for literally 12 years that has 220,000 miles.
Wow.
Not gonna get a great resale.
$200. We'll give you $200.
It's made 2 cross-country road trips. It's had a journey.
Yeah, that's a big one.
But so that's really interesting, though. I think there's a lot to be said about just navigating those, the budget aspect of things, really, because we're constantly trying to figure out where the next source of revenue is coming from, how we equate that to when we transition into certain things. There's a big conversation in the animation industry right now about which tools are going to be the industry standard 5, 10, 15 years from now.
What is it now?
Especially with AI changing a bunch.
So right now there's still the defaults of like Autodesk Maya and Adobe Creative Suite.
Unreal is taking a lot of people's lunches. Yeah.
They're taking their lunch.
Really, they are because they're trying to expand their footprint along multiple types of animation. So it's not just animation, standardized character animation, that kind of thing. It's going into motion graphics and
the fact that they're free.
And it's free. It's entirely free.
Huge. Yeah. It's a big avenue, and so a lot of free tools like Blender and. They're really like starting.
Yeah, they make money from games, so they have their revenue streams from games, but the actual program, the software is now going to be used for other types of compositing.
Yeah, so it's really interesting to see. So it's like I'm sure you see this all the time in the industry of like seeing what's coming next and being like, okay, well, how do I make the next step towards this? How do we plan for it? How do we budget for it? There's always things to consider.
So speaking of planning for stuff,
yes.
I want to get back to our. I was thinking about our listeners, people who listen to the podcast. They're secret listeners. We don't know who they are.
I see.
They're secret.
That's true.
We see you, though.
Yeah, we see you. We see you, listener. So here's my next question. What should future potential clients of yours or of anyone really looking for live action, what should they know about live action video production from your experience? What's the one thing that they usually like miss or get wrong or forget about when coming to you?
A lot of people don't understand exactly what goes into making like live production. They think they do. They think you can. A lot of people are like, "Hey, my phone captures like crazy quality now, so why can't we just capture it on my phone?" And I have to basically say, "All right, if you want to do it on your phone, you should go with this intern that I have, or whatever." But people don't know like the cost, the time, the crew, and the equipment. Or what I broke it down to is like, what do we need for this set specific project? And sometimes it's less than what they thought. And I say, no, you can totally like get away with having 2 cameras instead of 3 cameras for this podcast that you're doing, and save some money there and put that money, reallocate it to something else like your publicity.
What are the categories? Can you just elaborate on those categories?
Yeah. Okay. So
just riff off of that. Yeah.
Let's start with cost. So I always have to have this back. I have a conversation with what their project is, talk to them more about it. And then at the very end, I'm pretty much like, okay, how much do you want to spend on this? Because we can do this for like $2,000 or we can do this for like 10,000. And there's like a lot of middle room there. And it's basically like, if you have the budget, then we should do it that way because it's going to be a higher production. It's going to be better quality and all that stuff. So, and it's catered to each individual project. So, that's something that I can help people just like lock down is, all right, this is your budget. Let's stay within this. This is what we're going to do. This is where it's going to be. This is what we're going to use, etc. And then we get creative sometimes too. And vice versa for people who have higher budgets. They say, actually, we wanted to spend $15,000 on this. And I say, okay, cool. Let's bring in like the extra drone team and they can get some killer like footage of these cars whizzing around a curve. Like, let's make this awesome. Like,
get the action shot.
Yeah.
Does most of the stuff that you're talking about in terms of costs, there's value, there's price, and there's like bid. And then there's costs, like concrete costs. What are the things that you usually pay for out of the budget to expand on production quality?
Yeah, really, it's hiring more crew. That's the majority of it is hiring more crew members with their equipment and their specific skill sets. And the more that you can allocate to different people who are experts in their field, the better quality this is going to be. Like I said before, I can do this stuff by myself at a lower rate, but if we bring in some audio guy, your audio is going to sound amazing. And if you have like 7 other people speaking, then I don't have to worry about that and I can just make it look pretty. Like that that's just an example.
No, that's a great point. Cause I think that a lot of times like everybody has their own, unique strengths that like I think in a lot of ways, like we want to play too, right? Like I want to be able to work on like character animation heavy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And if that means that Will can take on the motion graphics side of it, awesome. Like I can do it, but it's not my preferred way of like exploring my creativity or really pushing the boundary of the medium in some way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really wonderful to like, I guess it makes me genuinely happy to hear that like the solution is to expand the skill set with more people, and as opposed to what we hear nowadays in like the AI world where it's like all the jobs are getting cut slowly, you know, like it really benefits from allowing to explore and have more people on board.
Sure. And granted, like some people need to shrink down, like for a project, say for like a live events like production where it's this elaborate, like I shoot $500,000 parties. These people have like coordinators and it's a $500,000 party with like 300 guests, and you're privately invited to like a super crazy mansion in like Vermont that's totally remote. And
that sounds fun. Can I go?
It is super fun. They do a Halloween party every year, and it's just like it's killer.
That sounds cool. Yeah.
And so
speaking of,
that's just me. So,
as a
go ahead.
Yeah. Quick side note there. I also once went to a Halloween party at the house where Mrs. Doubtfire was shot in San Francisco. So I felt pretty cool about that. It's my one like quote unquote claim to fame.
Bucket list?
Relax.
Check.
Please continue.
Doubtfire house?
Very
got
specific.
it. Right.
Yeah.
But you were saying, so it's just you in this one room in a big mansion and like you're shooting around and stuff, or is that?
It's me documenting the entire thing. And they hire me to be like a fly on the wall, not intrusive to the guests, with a minimal package, like camera package. And then I produce it and shoot it and edit it. And that's what they want, you know? So sometimes you do downsize, but I like to spread it a bit more just because, like you were saying before, people have their own like things that they love to do, and then two, things that they're really good at doing. And hopefully they're the same thing, but in Will's case, he's super handsome, but he just can't get the microphone close enough to his face.
I can't act. That's true. That is true. That is so true.
What a callback. Beautiful. I love it. I love it.
We're gonna edit that. We're gonna edit that out.
That's amazing.
Cool. So some other points you were saying was time. So time is pre-production, production, and post-production. That's you break it down into those three categories, and depending on like how many videos you need to do. So like a series of 12 videos is obviously going to take longer than one video that's 30 seconds long. So something that you need to consider, and time frames, and when people have these due, and when they need to release them. Like if you have a Christmas thing coming up and you're trying to shoot it in November, that's like a quick timeline. That's pretty much, that's really hard. But anyway, so that's just one thing. And then the crews, we talked about the crews, like I like to stay, but
ideally, so hold on. Sorry to cut you off. But ideally, that's fine. Ideally, if we were going to go backwards, what's an ideal timeline for something that's like for Christmas? Would it be now?
Like September, I'm thinking.
I mean, for like 1 2-minute video, or like what are we talking?
Yeah, let's go. All right, so we're
talking a feature film.
That's a good question. Yeah, let's go. It's a 2-person shoot.
Okay.
It's 3 cameras.
Uh-huh.
It's in a studio. It's in a studio.
Studio's good.
And we need to replace the entire background.
It's not as hard as you think. But
it's not as no.
So I mean, for the sheer fact that it would be in studio, I could confidently say that we can get pretty much whatever you need done in one day, because we have complete control of all the elements. Like we're not going outside and shooting and trying to fight sun or trying to fight rain or weather. We have perfect audio. We have perfect lighting. We can bring in whoever we want, whatever crew to set up. We can do things fast. We can replace backgrounds, like you said. 2 cameras gives us the option to cut to different angles. So editing's even easier in that point. So like that would be more of a like 1 month kind of thing. I could get something like that done.
Okay.
And I like to, like on average, about a month is enough time for the projects that I do that are like 2-minute videos.
Yeah, so it seems like location's a big factor in terms of determining cost, because if you're in studio, then that you, like, I can feel the switch in your brain going, oh, here's a bunch of other things that are sort of standard within a studio environment. And then if you go like outside, then you're like, okay, I'm sure you have a bunch of other things that come up. Yeah. Okay,
I mean,
cool.
like
AC.
AC.
It's kind of like,
right.
We think about that, I think, on the lens of like when we're thinking about style. Right.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
definitely.
when, depending on the style, it like branches off to create a different subset of costs because the amount of steps required is just going to be different.
Yeah.
So
do we have characters? Do we not have characters?
Yeah.
Is it motion graphics or is it not? Like, yeah.
That's really interesting.
Okay.
And I feel like you guys ask me the same questions every time I ask you for work, and I should just like have the answers by now. But you always have to ask me.
I think it's more on us. It's more on us not to like. We should have a standardized thing.
It's like a due diligence thing too. To just make sure we're like always like on top of the same questions. So that like there's like the clarifications there right at the front. For sure.
I wrote up a document that has all my questions that I asked people, and I was like, oh great, now I can just automate this. People can fill it out themselves, and they can come to me and know exactly what they want. It doesn't work. It did not work at all.
When we started the company, I think we had like a creative brief on our website, and we were like, okay, answer these like.
No one wants to fill it out.
Nobody did it.
No one wants to fill it out.
I'm like, did
they
you
either
see it?
want to tell you.
We saw it. I'm like, why didn't you fill it out?
Yeah.
I mean, because we had a phone call.
It takes a long time.
It's a lot of typing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of typing.
Nobody wants to type
I don't
anymore.
want to type that much. Yeah.
I barely text.
My fingers hurt when I type.
It's too much. It's too much. Yeah. Well, that's fair. So I think we've kind of touched on this a little bit. Kind of we're getting into that question related to cost again. But you know, how do you typically have a client come to your door and you're trying to figure out what that cost would be? Like, how do you budget live action?
Yeah.
Really? Like, is it just taking into account the specific questions that you have, or is there more that goes into it?
It's the quickest answer that I could say is experience. You just around like 5 years of doing this and working for other people, other professional like executive producers, and being a production assistant and a production coordinator and manager, and just like working below these people who have it all figured out and bid constantly and work for agencies and like have their experience. Learning from that really helped me get a better understanding of like, okay, this is how you do it. And I was asking that for years, is how do you bid properly and budget properly for a project? And I couldn't get a straight answer from like anyone. It was just like just figure it out. Like, and
you'll be fine. Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
You got it.
So it's experience. It's a lot of trial and error. And I've been doing it a long time now. So I feel confident that like, if I can ask you these questions, I can get a better understanding of what you need and what you want, which are two different things. And then quote accordingly for it so that everybody's happy. You know, it's really just about keeping everybody happy. Clients happy because they don't have to spend too much. Crews happy because they're getting paid enough. And then on the back end, your viewers are happy because the content is nice.
Yeah. Right. And you touched a little bit about this in sort of your past experience that I think is important to kind of mention, that the idea that I think a lot of times when we work in the industry, especially in like slightly different roles, you get to touch a little bit of how each part of the workflow or the pipeline works. And so when you get into starting your own business, it informs so much of the work that you do. Yeah. Really, I commend you for like having some of that experience and being able to see the way that other people did it, because I think it helps not only inform like strategies for your own company, but then it also allows you to look at it and be like, do I want to do it this way? Do I want to change it up in some way? Do I need to like change it, figure out a budget that works for me?
You get to see, you also get to see the holes. There's 2 points here. And I called back a little bit to Cave 76 Productions. If you haven't heard that episode, it's another live action production studio that we work with. They're great people. But they touched on, they come from that background, and therefore the way they treat their employees, the way they treat their contractors is going to be entirely different than if it was someone who just came up with it, from scratch. I want to make videos or whatever, and I don't have any background. The treatment of those employees or those workers or anything, it's going to be entirely different because you have to know that.
100%.
Quick question. I wanted to ask a little bit about not necessarily shifting gears, but talking a little bit from the animation lens, because I know that like sometimes the projects that we get to work and we get to collaborate is when you come to us with animation needs for either graphics packages or animation overlays or things of that nature. And we love being able to collaborate on that front. So I'm curious, I have, I guess, two questions. The first is like, at what point in the production does a client come on and say, hey, we need animation, or do they say it at all? And do you say, oh, this would be an opportunity to use animation in this way? Like, where does that happen within your conversations?
Yeah. So I thought a long time about this and came to the conclusion it's basically whenever I say so.
Elaborate. Yeah.
It's just like I hate to go back to this cost thing, but like if you have the extra money to spend like $2,500 on some extra editing to make this thing really pop and flare and integrate all this great animation that you guys do into my videos, it just like enhances them so much more. And it, depending on what we're doing, what was the last project the last big one was TJO Animals. And that was a great project. Helping animals find homes, which was great. And we had a lot of statistics up on that. And so we were trying to figure out how we were going to effectively communicate like just how many animals got adopted just this year and how many animals are kicked to the curb and how many animals like need help. And we can give that to our viewer in a matter of seconds with your exciting animation over something that looks good, like a little cat, a little kitten. How can you not watch that? Like, so.
Oh yeah, kittens and motion graphics. Hold on.
Oh, now we're talking.
Now we're talking big bucks.
Yeah, I push that on all of my projects actually.
You know what you need here? Yeah, another cat. Yeah,
absolutely. That's what the project's been lacking this whole time. I concur.
It's hard spaces to create live content, in hard projects to create live content for. And I'm trying to think of some examples. It doesn't happen too often for me specifically because people hire me as a shooter most of the time. It's super helpful when we are just in a creative rut and we can talk to you guys and say, all right, we're stuck here. How do we do this? And then you guys give us like 4 options and examples. Examples are always good, by the way. Like I always ask for, if people want a video, I'm like, shoot me an example of something that you liked. And we can just like kind of consider that in our production and why you liked it. You don't even have to tell me why you liked it. I can be like, okay, this is why they liked it.
Right. This is what I see.
Yes.
That's happening here. Yeah.
And so
we do that.
And I noticed that. And that's why I feel like we work well together. So
at what point do you feel like animation is best introduced to a client? Like, are you telling them like at that creative, like right at the beginning that like, oh, hey, you have the budget to be able to like utilize animation here, and then you contact, your vendors or collaborators, whoever it may be, or do you find it's like, and sometimes in productions there are things that get sort of tacked on towards the end, depending on the nature of the production. So I'm kind of curious how that works, and then like maybe we can get a little bit more technical about like what we take on versus how that production side works.
Yeah, sometimes
like we come in at the edit usually.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
Sometimes it's at the very beginning there is discussion about it, and it's whether we're going to go through with it or not. And most of the time we talk about it and then shoot and then edit and say, this it really just isn't driving this home, and we need to bring in what we talked about.
Yeah, do we still need
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
You
No,
like,
that makes
there's
sense.
like a switch.
Yeah.
Like, there's like a
It's
little
the red
lever that
button.
gets pulled up, and the red animate button. We need animation.
We need them. The alarm sound, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing.
No, but that makes sense because you're going, it's very similar in animation when you go through like a script and a storyboard up until like an animatic, you'll be thinking about like, do we need these pieces, parts? Do we need this character here? Do we take this out? Like, we're still thinking about that up until then. So in live action, it totally makes sense that you go all the way up to edit and then say, where do we need this?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Where can it be enhanced for sure?
Yeah. And we always have ideas, and it's like nice to have ideas, and it's nice to have you guys in our back pocket and say, oh yeah, I can have these guys do that. No problem. And like not have to worry about trying to create something myself or having like a buddy of mine do it on a cheaper, I'm not messing with that anymore. Maybe in college, like, but no.
Well, maybe that comes from experience, right?
Like
having those moments. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because
exactly.
we've been there as well.
Yeah. And I thought of an example. So like when you're trying to, when I was trying to create in that QML project, we were trying to document the inside of an oven that heats up enough to melt pretty much any substance that you can think of into molten lava. And like, so it's
I don't know if I'd want an oven like that in my home.
It's not in a home.
Sign me up, man.
It's like this huge, you could walk into this thing. It's like, it was humongous.
Wow.
And so it's like, how do we get one close enough so I can be on a long lens and shoot from further away, but it's like really hot and you're very limited to like what you can show. And so we talked about animating the inside of this oven, and we had to learn about what's happening inside the oven and how this happens and how it ventilates and why it's better than other ones. And so that's just one example of like when animation definitely comes into, it's good to have in your back pocket.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and you've seen that multiple places, like where we break down, go through X-ray, that kind of thing on products. That is that's where motion graphics really shines with live action.
Vice versa, I think there's times where we've worked on projects where, we'll take a look at a script and we'll see what they're trying to do in animation, and we'll say, honestly, this part here might be best served through
live action.
Yeah,
actually, we just did a project recently where the script called for, it's our people that set us apart, I think was like the line in the script. And we're like, we can't animate people. Like, it's not like if you're trying to connect to your audience and say like, it's our people, like these are the people, we need to show those people. So we had them like record something and send it to us, because it just, sometimes animation is great for characters, but that's when you're telling like a very specific story. But when you're talking about a crew that actually exist in real life, these are the people you're going to be working with, you might as well shoot those people.
You're going to see those people that you're actually working with. It's always better to just show the person. So,
good call.
Thanks. We try. I mean that's what it sounds like you're constantly doing in a way. You're like making certain judgment calls, sometimes on the fly, sometimes you prepare it in advance. So I guess kind of an open question is like, how do you navigate this space that is, I want to say, fluid in a lot of ways? I'm the type of person that's like, I'm a planner, right? I want like everything prepared, and that comes from anxiety. That's just like, I need to be as humanly, prepared as possible, or whatever it might be. But it's the nature of our projects and productions that like things pivot and they turn. And so how do you navigate those spaces where you have to kind of readjust on the fly?
Like readjust in the production world, or when it comes to graphic animation and design kind of stuff?
That's I could say it applies
either
to
or, but
whatever comes to mind.
For me, I'd be interested in like hearing a story about like crazy pivoting inside live action, like, because I know it happens all the time.
Oh yeah,
there's the side. There's
you always plan and you always have a schedule and marks, and you always try and do that. It just makes things run way smoother, regardless of if you get those curveballs or not, which will happen. But yeah, it does. It happens all the time. You just got to roll with it, and you have to look at it as an opportunity instead, to get a different view of this thing, or like have this unique thing happen. Then you want to capture it and that's just like, you can't plan for some of that stuff even. Like, it would cost so much money to sometimes plan for these things. Like, if you're filming on a railroad track and you need this guy to like pretend like he's leaving and shipping off, you're not going to hire a train. Well, I mean, you can, but it costs you like so much money to some people do that, you know, but if that train just happens to be rolling through the station at that time or leaving, and your character is either arriving or entering, like, you know, that's value that you're rolling with. And you're like, all right, audio is going to be total crap right now. Like, we got to figure this out. Like, and it's very like, but you have to just remain calm and use it as an opportunity. I'm trying to rack my brain on a good story. They're boring stories.
That's really cool.
Here, I thought of one. So for live production, at least, here's a drone one for you. So I got hired.
Going back to, okay, yes, we wanted to hear the drone.
This is like the best. This is like the best, one of the coolest projects I've worked on so far. I was hired to fly a drone for 4 days off of a small 18-foot boat off the shore of Cape Cod. And we were with Greg Scommel, who is the great white shark expert over there. And they are part of the Great White Shark Conservancy. And it was a special for Shark Week. And we were literally hunting these great white sharks, like not killing them, but like we were tagging them. And so we would have to get close enough to tag a shark and put a little beacon on them. And we can mark and find them. And you can just like go through this app and you see where they are. And they installed buoys in the water to tell you exactly where they are. And so like when there are sharks coming close to the beaches, they can say, all right, everybody out of the water, like no big deal. We got Bertha coming through, because they name all of them. And like,
that's cool.
And so I was flying the drone for that. And some of the weather was just like very difficult to fly in, especially on a boat that's just like going up and down and all around. And it's a small boat, and I'm flying a big drone because they wanted the higher quality. And it was like so intense, but so cool. Like I was like 4 feet away from great white sharks, and they're like eating whales. Amazing. Like there was a dead whale one day, and they were just like feasting on it. We were having a field day. Like, so
wow. That's a once in a lifetime experience, right? Really, when you get to like experience that type of stuff. That's very cool.
And so there was a whale that was floating off the shore, and that was an example of like, oh my God, this doesn't happen very often. And they know as experts, like we got to get over there immediately before news crews get there, before the whale watches get there. We got to stop what we're doing and get over there immediately. And we literally like found a guy, hired his boat, because it was like, we had to cut across the land part of it because we couldn't go all the way around because it would take too long. So we got off the boat, crossed the land, hired this guy on the spot to drive us in a boat to this whale. And we got footage all alone before the helicopters started coming over. And like, and we got like
that's amazing.
All these sharks just like taking chomps out of this blubber. It was so
cool. That's awesome. You know, this sounds like a
that poor whale.
Well, sure, but like I was thinking about like it's nature, you know.
Yeah, it's nature.
But I think at the same time, it's like this reminds me for some reason of like a Fast and the Furious movie. Like we gotta get over there before time runs out.
Right.
Oh,
the whale's like my family.
Oh no!
The whale was dead. The whale was already deceased. It was just floating.
I don't know, man.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Could have been alive. Who knows?
But yeah, what an interesting, what an interesting experience, though. I mean, that's part of like just I think the nature of like our jobs can be sort of so all over the place, right? Yeah. You can have all these types of different experiences with different people. You have awesome stories to share when you get home at the end of the day, or I guess when you get off of your chair at the end of the day if you work from home like we do. But it's very cool. So thank you for sharing. That's
that's I don't think we're gonna top that
with stories.
But thank you so much for joining us. In the interest of time, I think we're
that's
good.
fair.
Yeah, we have
last question. Where can people find you? How can they reach you? If they want to be able to follow up and email you and say, I have a video, and then you ask your questions.
If they're going to say, like, I'm missing a whale and I need to go find it. My pet whale.
The whales are hard. The sharks I can help you find.
There you go. That's fair.
Yeah,
That's
the best
fair.
place to contact me is on my website, terrillproductions.com. And I also use Instagram a lot and Facebook. And it's the same thing, just Terrill Productions. And right on there, you can fill out my questionnaire if you'd like, or you can just give me a call. And I'm happy to talk.
You got options.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Cool,
Well,
man.
thank you so much for taking the time.
This
We
was
really,
awesome.
really appreciate it.
Yeah,
This
thank
is
you
a
so
lot
much.
of fun. And I hope we get to do another part 2 in the future. So we'll definitely be in touch.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank
Cool.
you.
All right. See ya.